We're living in a world that's changing very quickly, and when we look around, we see all the changes that have taken place in just the last year and a half. It's quite astounding. We've changed the way we interact with people around us. Most people are wearing masks when they go out, and there are very different attitudes that people have in response to the vaccines that are being rolled out across the globe. Lots of people insist that the new vaccines will stop the coronavirus from spreading, and other people, albeit a smaller group, are opposed to the new vaccines. All of this that's happening right now in the world brings us to our Bible verse for the day in Matthew chapter 24, verse 3, which says, "And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and the end of the world?" In other words, Jesus' disciples were asking him, when would the end of the world come, this world that we live in? That's the big question, and I suppose that some of his disciples must have sensed that Jesus might not be with them much longer. He had already told them that he was going to suffer many things from the elders and chief priests, and that he'd be killed and rise again on the third day. If you pick up your Bible and read the chapter that precedes this chapter, in Matthew chapter 23, Jesus delivers a scathing rebuke to the religious establishment, the religious leaders of his day, calling them hypocrites. He compared them to whitened sepulchres, whitened tombs, which are beautiful on the outside, but are full of dead men's bones on the inside. So just before his disciples were asking him about the signs of the end of the world, Jesus was pretty much alienating himself from the religious powers that existed in his day, and his disciples knew that something bad was going to happen to him. While they still had Jesus there with them, I can imagine that they really wanted to know when he was going to return to the earth and when would be the end of time. So here are a few things that Jesus answered them. He said this in the same chapter, Matthew 24. He said, "And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but don't be troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and you will be hated of all nations for my name's sake." And then Jesus tells his disciples two very interesting things. He says, "And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come." He didn't just say the gospel would be preached in the Middle East or in Europe. He said unto all nations. Do you think that's happening today? Never before have we lived at a time where information could be sent so easily through the airwaves. There are still a few places in the world that probably haven't heard the gospel, but as we get close to the fulfillment of what Jesus said here, I think we'll also be getting close to the end of the world as we know it. Now, the second very important piece of information that Jesus told his disciples in this chapter was this: "When you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation." Okay, I know that's a very big phrase, abomination of desolation, but I don't want it to scare you away, and we're going to explain that in another Bible verse for the day. But he said, when you see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whoever reads, let him understand. So Jesus was telling his disciples, telling us, that if we really want to understand what's going to happen toward the end of the world, we need to go back to the book of Daniel and read the prophecies that he wrote down. We're not going to take the time right now to get into what Daniel said, but we will be going over that in our Bible verses that we'll be reading in the days ahead. So please stay tuned. So Jesus tells us that if we want to know about the end of the world, that we should go back to the prophet Daniel and read what he had to say. The angel that gave Daniel those prophecies told Daniel to shut up the words, seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. This means as we get closer to the end of time on earth as we know it, that knowledge will be increased and many people will be running all over the place. Now, if you wanted to travel to the other side of the world today, all you have to do is hop on a jet and go. Of course, you'll need a passport, visa, and money for the ticket. But the point is here that people are traveling to and fro all over the world today. If we read the book of Daniel and see what he says about future events, and we actually understand what he's saying, that could be another indication that we are living in the time of the end. And that is our Bible verse for today. Jesus' disciples asked him, what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the world? If you haven't already subscribed to our channel, you can do that right now by clicking that little button right down there in the bottom of the corner. And we look forward to seeing you again tomorrow for another amazing Bible verse for the day.